This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Let's Go Win podcast. I get to have a really fun guest on today, and I just found out he's a pickleball nut like I am. Jesse T is a poor kid from Boston who has turned to a wealth manager and free thinker, teaching freedom through 46 and 2 Wealth Partner, the Jesse T Show podcast, and plant medicines. He's a dad, a biohacker, author, speaker, and athlete. Brother, it's so good to see you again. How you doing, man?
Man, I missed you, brother. The energy we share and the camaraderie is palpable, man. But I've been great. Just got back from a spiritual quest from Peru, and I'm back to just impart all my experiences with those that'll listen.
I want to talk about this because you kind of opened me up to more than just I know ayahuasca. And I don't know where to start. Start with your story as a kid to now, or get right into some of these plant medicines. So you start, brother. You choose. Either way, I'm good.
I think it's good for some context on how I found, or how plant medicines found me. But man, I'm a poor kid from Boston. And what that meant was, single mom, busting her ass, trying to make it, had a dad that was a heroin addict for many years that finally cleaned up the last 10 years before he passed away. So he wasn't involved. I was bullied. I used sports as an outlet to try to, protect myself to some degree. And then just through the years, man, I've experienced some crazy, crazy life situations. It's given me a profound gratitude for life. Things like, dealing with my own drug addiction for 2 years, leaving Boston to save my life and join the military, which completely turned everything around for me. I've held my daughter in my arms until she passed away, held my mom and held her hand till she passed away, cleaned up my dad's blood off the floor after they found him passed away. And so all this death has given me a profound gratitude for life. And so in this life journey and life story, there's been many great things too, starting a family, starting some businesses, podcasts, helping people, helping myself. And in this path, I've been introduced to plant medicines. And plant medicines are things like ayahuasca, psilocybin mushrooms, San Pedro cactus, all these different things. And they have profound healing properties. And a lot of these things are coming back online as viable clinical treatments to help people with PTSD, depression, anxiety, drug addictions. And so from my personal experience, man, it's healed relationships with myself, with other people. It's put profound meaning in life. It's been a blessing, brother.
Well, you talked about some seriously life-altering moments. I mean, again, any parent that just heard that, I can't imagine, I don't ever want to, but you could have easily selected a bottle or whatever as your healing method. Instead, you've gone on this quest to obviously be better than that. And actually, you said even have gratitude for life. Talk to me a bit more about that, because so often I think you could go victim, but you really chose, I'm not going to let this shape my life negatively, but rather positively. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'm a big believer that you can't appreciate and love and understand the color or the light that love is without knowing the darkness. And I've seen some of the darker things that life can throw at you, especially, in 39 years of life. I saw most of that stuff before my 39th year. So I've seen a lot in a short amount of time. And, there's a couple things you can do with that. You can internalize it. You can not work on it. It can fester and it can spill over in many different negative ways. Or you could face the demon, so to speak, and just get after it. And so once I was given the tools and the insights and perspective, man, I'm the type of person that likes to calibrate and work on myself, from biohacking to spirituality to mindset to all these different things. And it was introduced to me, I want to say maybe through Tim Ferriss at first, and then guys like Joe Rogan and Aubrey Marcus, and then the people that they were learning from, Michael Pollan, the McKenna brothers, like these foremost thought leaders in the plant medicine world. And I was called to do it. I'm an adventurer at heart. I'm like an Indiana Jones and Doctor Strange kind of put together. So I like adventure. I like mystery. I like peeling behind the curtain and seeing what the truth is. And brother, it strengthened my relationship with God. It strengthened my relationship with people, with myself. And man, if you're called to this type of work, you will be. And then from there, you just have to seek out people that you like, know, and trust to be able to do this work with.
So let's talk about because you mentioned 3 different ones. And I think most laymen, ayahuasca is the one I know. And I have a fear. It actually scares the shit out of me, so much so that I know I need to do it at some point. And that's probably a control thing. I'm with that. But you mentioned that that's only one form of
Yes.
the three on your journey in Peru. Can you step us through what they are to a degree, as much as we can understand it?
Sure.
And because I didn't even understand that there was multiples.
Yep. Yeah. So I've worked with 4 in my life. The first one I started working with was psilocybin mushrooms, or what people would call shrooms or whatever. But if you do those types of things and you don't do them properly, you're not going to get the profound insights that you can get from them. So you have to treat these things with a sacredness, regardless of your religious beliefs. You could put sacredness into the intentions, the leading up with fasting and doing different things to really give it, the profound effect, and making sure you're right in the right set and setting. And so that means the right mindset. Like you said, that you had a fear about XYZ. You don't want to walk into a situation like that being fearful, because that could be compounded to the nth degree and you'll have what's known as a bad trip. So the mindset, number one. The second thing would be setting. The setting being the safe environment with people that can hold a container for you of love and security and peace. And so if you have those things in place, things like psilocybin mushrooms, I've strengthened my relationship with God. I've been able to scale my business and podcast further because of it. And so that's the psilocybin mushrooms is very, you can digest it just by eating it. You can drink a tea. They have like little ground up pills. You could take the pills. And basically what happens is you drop in, you take the psilocybin mushroom, and then all of a sudden within 30 or 45 minutes, you start to feel different feelings. You feel, euphoria, you feel a body sensation, you feel this warmth and comfort, and different things out there, from documentaries to people talking about how it's one of the most experiences they've ever had in their life. And so basically it'll teach you things. It'll show you things. I've done things like ego work, trauma work. There's a cliche. It says it's like swallowing a therapist or doing 5 or 10 years worth of therapy in one sitting. And it's absolutely true. No question. And that could be really hard. I've had really hard experiences that have been so powerful. And so mushrooms are very, very much that way. Ayahuasca is more of the spiritual connection, the divine connection. It's opening your third eye, if you will. It's airy. It's feminine and in nature. Because we all have feminine and masculine energies. It's the feminine. It's called the mother, and the mother will give you spiritual insights. It'll give you profound. It taught me about that I'm a healer, and then I'm a provider, and I'm a creator, and all these different things. And in conjunction with that, there's the masculine energy, which I've used, which is called San Pedro. And San Pedro. So just to back up, ayahuasca comes from a root, and it's also mixed in like a tea, essentially. And these are things found in nature. They're unaltered. They're natural. They're basically God's gifts. And so the San Pedro cactus is distilled down into a really sludgy tea. It's hard to get down, but you do it if you want to do it. And it's very masculine. It's very grounding. It's the earthing. It's the power. It's stepping into your knowing. And those two coupled together throughout that week that I was in Peru was so profound. With San Pedro, just for the context, I told you I lost a daughter that was 7 days old, and I held her in my arms till she passed away. One of my intentions leading up to Peru was to be with my daughter, to connect with her. And I believe that fully. And for 2 hours, I was with my daughter in, a beautiful sacred space in Peru. And I was able to feel her and know that she's with me. And it was absolutely profound, crying the whole time. And so that was the San Pedro. The other plant medicine I've worked with is called Kambo. And Kambo is a frog venom. This is going to sound really, out of all the weird stuff, this is probably the weirdest, right? So it's a frog venom. And they take, this little stem, and I don't know if you can see it on my arm, but they superficially burn a few holes in your arm, and they rub the frog venom onto your arm. And what it does is it causes massive purging, and it's been shown to cure and heal disease. People with cancer have come back with no more cancer after 3 sittings with this thing. So it's very profound. It's very natural, but it's not for everyone.
Got it. And biohacking just in general, let's talk about that a bit, because I am all in on this. It drives my wife nuts because I'm always trying something different. Talk to me how you found that, and what does that look like for you on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I'll give you some of the best thought leaders that are out there right now. A guy named Ben Greenfield, amazing at this. Aubrey Marcus, Kyle Kingsbury, they run On It down in Austin, Texas, amazing at this. Tim Ferriss is into this world too. And even like one of the forefathers, his name is Paul Chek, Chek. And what happens is there are protocols, modalities, and basically tricks that you can use to lengthen your lifespan, to live more vibrantly longer, to be able to run around and fight off fragility. Most people don't realize once you get older, you fall down, you break a hip, that's it. And my whole goal and what I do is to be able to chase my kids and be meaningful long into my years if I make it that long. And so things like cold plunges or cold showers, things like intermittent fasting, Things like grounding, getting out with your bare feet on the ground and the things it does for you there. So the whole idea is understanding your body and having, a way to calibrate things. And so one thing I would recommend to do all those things is the whole idea is to stay young for as long as possible for so many reasons, for business, for relationships, for self, whatever it is. And the one thing you want to do is you want to stave off disease. The way to do that is to reduce or eliminate inflammation. Well, a lot of people don't realize that inflammation starts in the gut and disease starts in the gut most of the time. So you have to know about your own personal body and style of what to eat and what not to eat. And so one plug I'll throw out there, I don't get paid for it. It's a company called Viome, Viome. You know about this?
Just did it, brother. I quite literally did this last week. When I say I drive my wife nuts, I'm telling you, I literally just sent it in and I'm waiting daily for my pending results.
Hell yeah. So I've done Viome. I'm about to do it again for a second time. Reason why I push this is because a lot of information out there is not good in terms of, if you just eat vegetables and fruits and lean meats and things like this, you'll be okay. That's not necessarily true, because there's some foods that your body doesn't agree with and it causes inflammation. Things like scallops, which sound healthy, seafood, good for you. They cause inflammation in my body. And I love seafood, specifically scallops. I had to taper that back. Things like chickpeas, which is hummus. You think that's pretty healthy, or different types of beans. And, my ex-wife was, have inflammation from broccoli and grapes, like these things that you don't understand. And so what you do is like what you did, you do the Viome, where people can go and they take a sample and they send it off, and 2 to 3 weeks later, depending on how long it takes, you get this data rich, immersive report that says, this is what you eat to have superfoods. This is food that's okay to eat. And this is kryptonite food. Don't touch this food at all because it'll kill you. And then even more importantly than the foods, it tells you specifically, and they give you hundreds of foods. Like it's almost too much information, which is good. The other thing they tell you about is the probiotics that live in your body that you either need more of or that you need less of, right? And there's prebiotics to that. And there's a whole world to this. But what I would say for most people is get moving. These are things you can control biohacking wise. Move your body 30 minutes a day, something strenuous, a little bit more than just walking. Walking, if you can only walk, that's fine. Get out there and move. Rest is the mother of all medicine. Get your sleep. It doesn't have to be 8 hours solid, but get 6 to 8 hours. And then nutrition. These are biohacking things that are free to us to a degree that we can control. And then the fourth thing, which is coming online for a lot of people, thank God, especially with the pandemic, is vitamin D. You have to get vitamin D. You have to get 15 to 20 minutes of direct sunlight exposure every single day. And especially in the winter, if you're below, I think it's the 35-degree belt. It's like somewhere like Kentucky and then up to the northeast, the north of the United States, you're not going to get enough vitamin D no matter how much sun you get. So you have to supplement with like 5,000 IUDs a day, I think it is. So at the end of the day, vitamin D, rest, nutrition, and movement, that's biohacking.
Yeah, and there's a really cool company. There's a bunch of them, but one of the most reputable one, I think, is Juve, and they're out of Minneapolis. Yeah, and that's all for what he's talking about on vitamin D. By the way, all of us do not have sufficient vitamin D. Quite literally, every human being, is my understanding, walking the planet. Potassium too. Did you know how deficient we are in potassium?
Most supplements, minerals, and nutrients we're all deficient in because we don't get it through our diet. So you have to supplement. And most people don't supplement. And so just to touch real quick on why vitamin D is so important. Vitamin D is more than just a vitamin. It's actually a pro-hormone, and it is integral to immunity. So there's a video with this doctor who is gaining a lot of popularity. He's seen over 300,000 patients in his life. He's a virologist. He's an expert with COVID. Like, he's seen over 100,000 COVID cases. Like, he's the man. And he's like, basically, his perception, may go against some other people's beliefs, but he's like, vitamin D would take care of most of this epidemic. Just vitamin D.
I mean, it's profound, you guys. So you've talked about your business has expanded. And not once have we talked about, hey, what are you doing strategically? And it's pretty interesting. So, I mean, really, we're talking about our health, but health is wealth. And you
100%.
Teaching freedom through 46 and 2. So freedom being one of my favorite words. Talk to me about teaching freedom. What does that mean, brother?
Yeah, man. So I run a wealth management business. It's a registered investment advisory firm, which means I work for myself. I work with a custodian, TD Ameritrade, which will become Schwab. And basically what I do is I show people how to live well now and never run out of money in the future, so that they can live healthy, or they can enjoy now. They can, wherever life intersects with money is where I show them how to make wise decisions. Most people want to make more money, but the big secret is showing people how not to screw up and lose a ton of money, right? And so 46 and 2 Wealth Partners, we're a fee-only fiduciary. Out of 400,000 financial planners in the United States, there's only 5% of us that are fiduciaries, which means we do not accept a commission at any level. We do not sell you a product and service to meet a sales quota. We are truly in alignment with when you do well, we do well. And I feel like as business 101, that's the way to do business. The scary thing is most financial planners are not fiduciaries. So when we come at somebody with that and we say, we're in perfect alignment with what you want to do and what we need to accomplish, like we're going to do this together, it's a no-brainer. And so my business is a financial planning business, but really it's a consciousness awakening business disguised as a financial planning practice. And so all these things that we're talking about now, from health and wellness to spirituality, these things do bleed into the conversation because they make life worth living. They make life whole, right? Nobody wants to wait till you're 65 to retire. Nobody wants to wait till you have $2 million in the bank because that's your number, right? People want to live well today. They just don't want to run out of money in the future. And we show them how to do that.
So how did you get into that? Was that always money interest you? Therefore, was that I wanted to make a shitload of money, so that was my path? What led you to it? And I don't care what the answer is because mine was, everybody's different.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's evolved. I'm sure it's changed. But tell me how you decided to really become a wealth manager.
So two things. I've been a lifelong entrepreneur and I grew up with a scarcity mindset that flipped to an abundance mindset years ago. And so growing up in Boston, I grew up before Gary Vee was a thing in terms of social media prowess. I was buying, selling, trading comic books, baseball cards, because that's the stuff I loved. Like that's the stuff I was into. I was doing those things. My best friend at the time, Paul, his grandfather had a storefront called the Rookie Shop, which had a lot of these things. And so I learned the business side of this stuff. And I just grew up with this innate thirst for knowledge. I'd always ask the most random questions. I'd try to seek out information. And I grew up with this kind of natural hustle, like shoveling snow for money, running over to Logan Airport, returning the smart carts. There are these things called smart carts where it looks like a shopping cart with the basket missing, but basically it's the bottom piece where you could stack luggage on top of one another at the airport. It's kind of outdated because the way luggage moves now. Anyway, long story short, you used to take these smart carts and put them back into the stall and it would pop out a quarter. And so you do this enough times, you make $5 or $10 as a kid, you're happy. All these entrepreneurial things were building in me as a kid, but where a lot of it was coming from was we didn't have any money. And so if I wanted a video game, or if I wanted some sneakers, or if I wanted something, like mom couldn't afford it, so I had to go out and hustle. So I guess nature and nurture at the same time. And then through my life, starting businesses, running businesses, learning about concepts of wealth and wealth planning. And I've done a bunch of stuff in finance through the years, from banking to owning a state farm to all these different things. It all just kind of came together. And I was like, I want to teach people how to live well through financial planning. How do I do that? And so I was on a quest since 2010 till now to learn about it.
That's awesome. So if you're not looking at this, he's got this goldfish wearing a shark fin behind him. It says mindset is everything. And one of the mindsets I want to talk about is going from scarcity to abundance. What was your journey and how did you flip the script? Because this is a big one for people, because damn it, some people are just going to live in scarcity no matter what.
Yep.
What did that look like for you to really make that change?
So the innate part was I was always an optimist as a kid. Even though I've been through some of the most hellish things a human can go through, I still always had this belief that tomorrow would be better. So that was part of that natural thing. The nurture, where I had to be taught how to do these things, just came through trial and error. It came through not wanting to not go without. Like I remember there was times in Boston where we would have no heat for the winter. And for those that are from Boston, it snows 8 months out of the year. It's cold, right? We get nor'easters, we get blizzards, we get 10 feet of snow in a season. Like it's cold. And I remember one time my mom, she was doing some candle making as like a side hustle or a hobby or something. She left something on her in the stove and my dogs were barking. It was a Saturday morning. She went off to work and my dogs wouldn't stop barking. And I'm laying in my bed and I'm like, just shut up. I want to sleep. So I get up and as soon as I open my door to my room, I look in the kitchen, I can see smoke coming out of the kitchen. I'm like, oh shit. So I walk into the kitchen and I realize the smoke is now profusely popping out of the oven. I've opened the oven a little bit and a friggin' fireball flew up to the ceiling and left like this char mark on the ceiling. And I called Boston Fire Department. They came and they put it out. That was one of the most profound things to make me realize, listen, this is partly becoming from a place of lack because we didn't have enough money to be able to pay the heat bill and it could cause injury or death. I started working when I was 14 years old after that. Like every summer I started working, kept doing my side hustles. And so I think the abundance mindset started building in me. Once I realized I could rely on myself in a sense and rely on teachers and mentors that I've had my whole life, I could really create and craft the life that I wanted. So the power was in my hands. And so now that scarcity and that kind of lonely feeling started turning into power that I could use and craft my own future.
That's amazing. You know, those will burn into your memory and shape what you do. I want to talk about money, and I want to get into the emotional side versus the logical side, because every decision made with money, you're probably dealing with both. Some more emotional, some very logical. What is your best advice for people when it comes to managing their money and or managing their emotions? How does that look with your world? Because it's a huge part of it.
Yeah, it's huge. And I'm glad you hit on that. So I'm a little bit more than 30% of the way done with my first book called Happy Wealth. And Happy Wealth talks about the big premise. It's inspirational. It's part life story. It's part what I've been able to do in creating wealth for myself and others. But also it's, if you do these 10 things utilitarian wise, you're going to be able to create wealth sooner than later so you can enjoy life. And the first chapter is the concept of time, memento mori, the Stoic philosophy I believe in, where, know that you're mortal, know that you must die, but let that be the motivation to live life well, and the reasons behind all that. And then it goes into emotional behavioral finance is the very first thing we talk about, because no one talks about this. Like, no one taught you this in school. Everybody always talks about, they didn't teach you how to balance a checkbook. They didn't teach you about savings. Like, that stuff is true. But before that even happens, you have to have the right mindset. You have to have the right mindset about paying yourself first, how to actually do that, how to invest in yourself, how to spread money around and buy assets. Most people don't talk about that. Yeah, you can go out and buy a new house, new car. That's great. But like, your money's going to start depleting if you don't find other revenue generating ways. And so I think that in terms of emotional and behavioral finance, people need to be trained. And so what we do at my firm, on the client, we call it our client family. So anyone who comes into our business is hand selected to be in the business. We want specific people in the business for specific reasons. We choose to do life and business with these people. And when they come in through our client onboarding, there's a few little things that we do, from assessments to there's a test called the Colby. And basically what Colby does, it helps me identify how you take action so that I can educate you on when to take action, and more importantly, stop you from making a bad decision. And then there's another more investment type piece, which is taller risk, which helps me identify if you're prepared to take on risk as a fiduciary, how all these different things. And so we start building out almost like a personality database for all of our clients. I've even thought about putting in horoscope stuff in there too. I know this is kind of out there, but like, there's some real stuff behind that. But anyway, what happens is now I know how you behave. Now I know your MO, like what to expect. And if I know this about you, if I know how to coach you and lead you and mentor you, well, then you're going to not make nearly as many of those emotional mistakes. A lot of times you see people that are going through a midlife crisis. They'll go buy a sports car. They'll try to impress someone. We can make sure that you're still living the life you need to live, but you're not, blowing the future at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care who you are, guys. You operate with both every financial decision. And it's funny, if you're not aware of it, I don't know why they don't teach it. I'm not sure, because quite literally, it's probably I don't know, maybe it's the most emotional thing that we have. Money makes people feel a certain way,
Yep.
But we don't talk about it. I love that you guys do the personality thing. So how do you find your clients? You said you're selecting who's going to be on. I think, as you said,
Yes.
family.
Yep.
How do you select that? How do you find them?
Yeah, man. So I came from my financial background. I was a banker for some years, branch manager, business banker. So I did the retail side. I left that to go be a State Farm agent. So insurances, mutual funds, annuities, which was not my bag, but I did it and I understood that world. And in those places, and then I left to open up Todisco Financial, which was more of an independent financial planning firm, but still a little bit limited, wasn't a fiduciary. And so in all of those iterations, I was always chasing people down. I was always hunting. And while that's fine to a degree, it wasn't the business that I wanted to be in. I wanted people that like met with me, said, you know what, Jesse's competent, he's trustworthy, he's likable. I want to do life and business with this guy. So I changed the whole way that I do business. And I actually started looking at it like dating. I'm taking someone into my life. Do I want them in my life? Are they going to be a pain in the ass? One of my mentors, Patrick Tucker, who's an investment advisor out in Omaha, badass, great guy. He's into family. He's into fitness. He's into spirituality. He's just like my kind of person. He used a military term that resonated with me when he built his practice, because his practice is beautiful. It's elegant. It's gorgeous. And he's like, I don't want a pain in the ass. I don't want a PITA. I don't want someone that's going to come into my business, always be busting my chops about the decisions I make or the recommendations I make. Like, I want someone to do life with that trusts and believes in what I can do. And we're going to win together. And so once I changed my mindset of chasing people and more so attracting people and getting people that I wanted to, like, people that listen to similar podcasts. Even we could be different people, but like, I want some common things. Like if you're into fitness, if you're into things more than just financial planning, I wanted someone to do life with. And brother, it's been a beautiful way to build this business. And I'm a very lucky and happy man.
So you guys, those of you with business, I know you're going to think this is crazy. It's called The Takeaway. And what he's doing is literally taking away. Nope, I'm not going to do business with everyone. In the dating world, this is also very strong. It's been a while since I've been it, but I don't need you, but I'd like to spend time with you. It's so attractive. I can't it's just such an important idea. I want to talk about failure, brother, because again, you said any entrepreneur knows what failure is.
Yep.
You definitely have military background. So talk to me failure, what does that word mean to you and how do you kind of process it?
Failure is a good thing if you never quit. If you have a failure and you quit, that's what I deem somewhat of a failure. Any other failure where you don't quit, but you keep moving forward and learn from it is a learning lesson. I've had 4 companies, 2 that have been successful and 2 that were learning lessons. They're learning lessons because I didn't stop hustling. I didn't stop on my entrepreneur game. I didn't stop learning. If I stopped, tucked tail and went back to work at 9 to 5, and for me personally, like I would die with regret if I did that, that would be a failure to me. But because I failed, but kept failing forward. And here's the thing, I want to screw up, but I want to screw up fast because I can learn fast. And the faster I screw up or don't know something, or the faster that I get hit with a speed bump or something like a left hook that I wasn't prepared for, well, the faster I can recover and learn to come back bigger, better, stronger the next time. And so for me, failure is tricky because failure is a good thing if you allow it to be motivation, if you allow it to be a source of learning. It's a bad thing if you just quit and give up altogether. And so I'm okay with failure as long as you learn from it and grow.
So I'm going to go on the other side. What really inspires you, brother? Because you clearly are fired up. You definitely, you bring emotion to the table in a positive way. What inspires you, brother, to really show up as your best version every single day?
Number one, I'm a lucky SOB, man. I shouldn't even be alive. I've held and faced death a few times. So again, that value of time and that Stoic philosophy I mentioned earlier, memento mori, the Greek philosophers, back in Roman antiquity and Greek antiquity, there was this way of living, Stoicism. It's a way to carry yourself, a way to show up in the world. And one of their core tenets and beliefs is memento mori. And I actually wear that chain every day, just as like a constant physical reminder that I've seen a lot of crap and I've been through a lot of stuff. And so memento mori says, know that you're mortal, know that you must die, but let that be the motivation to live life well lived. And so having a core tenet and ethos, something that I truly believe in, that I've physically seen and touched and felt, that's one thing. And that gives me gratitude. So for me, I'm the most grateful guy in the world. I'm grateful for the losses. I'm grateful for the wins. I'm grateful for the in-between. Now, more on the less practical side, the more going back to plant medicines, one of my ceremonies last year that I sat, with plant medicines and got a takeaway, a download, if you will, was it told me to speak and teach freedom with my microphone. It didn't mean just this microphone. It meant just in interactions with people and talk about business and relationships and life and love and all these different things. And that motivates me too, because part of my life's journey is sharing my story so that it's been healing and cathartic for me because it's completely freed me to be able to talk about all the things that I've endured in my life. But I've seen what it's done for other people too. And part of my mission is to impart that power and that confidence into people so they can share their story, get it out to the world, and they can have that healing as well.
Have you always been able to be so vulnerable and open? Because this is something that so many people could share their story, but man, that's scary. God, I'm going to show my warts. Is that just come easy for you? Or has this been a learned behavior?
No, it's just something where, as a kid, I was very empathetic and very feeling oriented. And then through a lot of things from bullying and like life and all these different things, I got like kind of smashed down to be like afraid to talk about these things and all these whatever, but it never left me. And so as I found things like plant medicines, as I found mentors, as I found David Goggins, I think we talked about this before, but David Goggins has a book called Can't Hurt Me. And the whole narrative of that book is I've had a crazy life. I've had things I'm not proud of. I'm shameful about some of these things, but I own them. And now I've turned it around. The best illustration I can give you is if you've seen the movie 8 Mile, anyone who's listening or watching. The whole movie, this is an older movie with Eminem, but he's getting beat up figuratively, literally. He just can't catch a break. By the end of the movie, hopefully not to throw spoilers out there, but this movie is like 15 years old or older. He's like, you know what? I am poor. I am white trash. My mom, she does bad things. Like I come from a bad background. Like, and here's who I am. And the guy, Mekhi Phifer, had nothing to say back. He could say nothing back. And then Eminem went on the offensive, took control of his life, and he won the first rap battle that he won. He became Eminem, right? And so that's kind of been my journey, was hearing from David Goggins, where he's this badass ultra marathon runner. He's a Navy SEAL qualified, Army Ranger qualified, Air Force TAC-P. Like he's been in 3 different special forces, which is unheard of for one person. He's done all these crazy things, but he came from such a humble beginning, and his power was sharing that story. So I think that those things combined with growing up, having this feeling, having a mentor, and having David Goggins and plant medicines come into my life, it completely taught me how to do this, and it set me free.
I also did BUD/S training, Navy SEALs training 3 times, you guys. Yeah. It's nuts. He is nuts, by the way, but it's very inspiring. I got to ask, just because one of my favorite questions, what is the most impactful, and maybe I'll give you 2 to 3 most impactful books that have really shaped your perspective, your thinking to today? And maybe it's Can't Hurt Me, but maybe there's a couple others.
I got 3. Can't Hurt Me. I've listened to it twice. It's profound. It gives you exercises, 10 steps on how to basically become free. I bought into it completely, and it's changed my life forever. And it's brought so many beautiful relationships. I can tell you specifically who's in my life because of the story and the unfolding of it. So definitely Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins. The next one is called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And this was important for me and for so many people, because so many people don't realize they don't really show up well for themselves. They don't love themselves. And to give you an illustration, we have 60 to 90,000 thoughts that run through these brains every single day. And most of them are negative. Most of them are self-defeating, self-sabotaging. A couple of weeks ago, I said something to myself. I called myself an MFer. And I thought about it for a second because I'm aware of this stuff now. I'm like, why did I just call myself an MFer? I would not take that from anyone else in the world. Why would I take that myself? And then immediately I went to like loving myself and all this different stuff. And so it's super powerful. And the things that can happen, there's a 30-day meditation, very quick, 5 to 7 minutes every day. It'll change your life. And then the other thing that really opened up my heart and mind was Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. And he talks about 2 things that I've worked on tremendously this last year was ego and pain body. So everybody has an ego, no matter who you are. Your ego doesn't have to control you. It doesn't have to be big or bad, but everybody has an I. Everybody's the ego. Also, pain body is trauma that I've experienced in my life. And the work that I've done through plant medicines and therapy over the last year to do so much work there kind of was instigated by the reading of that book. So those 3 books for me personally have changed my life.
Guys, the second one, when he's talking about what he said to himself and how he would never allow someone. I just had this conversation with my son. Tristan, TJ is a very talented tennis player. He works hard, but he was literally beating himself up on the court. And I said, when do you think I would ever allow any human being to talk to you like that? There's no chance I'm going to let you talk to yourself like that. I love that, brother. So what should I have asked you that I didn't know enough to ask, Jesse? It's just like, hey, man, I got to get this off before I roll out and I'm done with this.
Just in the interest of, I have 3 things that I do from a professional standpoint or a calling: 46 and 2 Wealth Partners, the Jesse T Show podcast. The third thing I do that I would really love to talk about, if you were to ask about it, was this retreat that I'm holding at the end of this month in Georgia. It's up near Helen, Georgia, which is a really charming place. Close to Helen, Georgia is a retreat center, spiritual retreat center called Elohi. We're going to have about 30-ish people there working with breath work and plant medicines and ecstatic dance and all sorts of other things that are going to be really cool. There's going to be 30 badass people that are successful, that are on the spiritual path, that are looking to do life together. Lives will be changed, business relationships will be, instilled. It'll be amazing. So that's going to happen April 29th through May 2nd. And anybody who feels called to do any types of biohacking type work or plant medicine type work, or just connect to a great tribe of human beings, it would be great for them to be there.
So I got to ask about, that's awesome. And guys, check it out. I promise you'll love Jesse being there, whether he's leading it or he's just a part of it.
Oh yeah.
You'll get a ton from it. Talk to me what podcasting's done for you, man, because I know how impactful it's been for me personally. What has it really done for you doing the Jesse T Show?
It's been a masterclass on life, and it's brought in clients to my wealth management business. It's brought in friends that have become best friends in my life. And so the Jesse T Show, we highlight people like yourself, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, authors, creators, athletes, people that are doing something, making change, shining a light in the world, people that have overcome something. Every single one of those people that I just mentioned have had some sort of life story or journey where they've had to overcome and persevere and basically get their battle scars and come back bigger, stronger, better, faster if they don't quit. And so I'm able to talk to these people through these mediums. It used to be in person a lot, but now we do a lot like Zoom, where I'm hearing about their journey, their story, their mission. And in hearing their story, people really, you can really understand someone from a different perspective, and you can have questions that maybe you wouldn't be able to have answers to. And so we take all these insights from these thought leaders, these authors, these entrepreneurs, these athletes, and we give them back to the world so they can listen. And so I've been the first person to receive. So I'm the one doing the interview or the conversation, but I'm the one who's learning just as much as anyone else. And so I'm learning from these amazing human beings. And some of these people, people have heard from around the world. It's changed my life completely from a business and personal standpoint.
Well, guys, I was fortunate enough to be a guest on it. He does an incredible job as a host, brings the same, if not more energy as he did today. It's just how he shows up. Brother, how can our listeners connect with you online?
Yeah, man, I have a link tree that if y'all can just click on that. But basically, the best places to find me are at Jesse_T, which is TEE. So at Jesse_T on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn, which is another place. I do a lot on Instagram and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is Jesse, Jesse, last name Todisco, TODISCO. Outside of that, the Jesse T Show podcast or 46and2wealthpartners.com.
We'll link that all in the show notes, but I can't let you get off. Todisco, come on, bro. There's got to be a story to this.
There is, yeah. So it's an Italian last name, but really weird and doesn't make sense. It's the Italian way to say German or German-like. So if it was like a German car or something, like Todisco, like that's how they would say it. And so that's where it comes from. But because growing up in Boston, those names are very common, letters that are names that end in some sort of vowel, right? But down in Georgia where I live, like people would butcher it all the time. And I was like, you know what? I have a family nickname. My dad, everyone called him T. My grandfather, they called him Papa T. And so now people just call me Jesse T, which is just a family nickname. And it's easier to say than Todisco.
I love it, bro. Yeah. Hey, man, I appreciate you so much for being here, doing what you're doing for the world. That opportunity in Georgia. I don't know Helen, Georgia. I don't know it. I've never heard of it, but it would be incredible. You guys make sure to check it out. Thank you so much for being here, brother. I really appreciate it.
Much love to you and everything that you're doing, brother. Thank you for having me. And I look forward to seeing where our journey takes us.
It'll continue for sure. You guys, I hope you enjoyed that. There's so much to unpack. He gave you so much. I have a page full of notes, so I get to review it as well. So continue enjoying the show. Until next time, you guys continue transcending life. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.